All right, you ready for this? Picture this, it's 6 a.m. on a Saturday, sun barely up. I'm out in my boots mindset on milking the cows, and bam, there's a full-blown wedding happening in my pasture. Not kidding. White tent DJ flowers the whole 9 yards, 200 people on land my family's owned since 1891 like they got a golden ticket to Disneyland, and I'm the janitor, nobody told. I just stand there, mouth open, and before I can even say who invited you, this lady designer heels, Chanel, perfume murder in her eyes, marches through a fresh cow patty and screams, "You need to leave immediately. This is private property. I mean, lady, you want to see private property? I got deeds going back to the Civil War." Meet Delilah Penworth, HOA president, part-time tyrant, full-time pain in my ass. Somehow she's convinced 200 people that my cattle ranch is her daughter's wedding venue. There's tomato plants, smashed prize Holstein missing guests with shoes full of what I can only hope is organic fertilizer. The air smells like panic perfume and $15,000 worth of heirloom tomatoes, pure carnage. But let me tell you something about Morrison men. We don't roll over for bullies, not even ones in Ralph Lauren pantsuits. So when that diesel manure spreader cranked up right in front of the newlyweds and their Instagram army, well, you better believe a few city folks got a crash course in what organic farming really smells like. I mean, come on. What would you have done? Fold. Or fight back hell? Where you watching from? Drop your state. I want to see if anyone else has had a morning this wild. All right, let's back up because you got to know how we ended up at this circus. My name's Jake Morrison, fourth generation to work this dirt. Morrison Ranch, 127 acres of prime cattle country. My great-granddad Silas started all this in 1891 with nothing but stubbornness and a mule. You grow up hearing the floorboards creak at the old kitchen table, smelling alfalfa in the barn. You start to understand this ain't just land. It's blood, sweat, heartbreak, and Sunday dinners with your whole life stretched out in rows of corn. When Dad had his heart attack in 2019, I didn't just inherit a ranch. I got handed $340,000 of farm debt and a legacy so heavy it felt like carrying a wet log uphill in a thunderstorm. Dad was old school, deals sealed with handshakes, cash stashed in coffee cans, records in a mess that'd give a CPA an ulcer. Banks took one look at me half awake, covered in cow manure, and pretty much laughed me out the door. But I'm stubborn. In 2021, I went organic. Not because I wanted to save the whales, but because city folks pay stupid money for a tomato with a funny name, especially if you promise it's never seen a chemical in its life. I finally made enough to sleep through the night instead of lying awake staring at the ceiling counting the cost of feed vet bills and divorce. Yeah, the ex couldn't handle country life, took half my savings and went back to Houston. But you know what? That first calf of spring, the feel of a ripe tomato, that's the stuff you can't put a price on. Then 2020 hit and the whole world went nuts. Some hotshot developer bought up the Henderson land next door, 300 acres gone overnight. By 2022, it's Willowbrook Estates. 200 McMansions, HOA fees higher than my grocery bill for 3 months, and more Range Rovers than cows. The new folks, they love the country vibe until the rooster crows or the manure spreader fires up at dawn. That's when the complaints start. And leading the charge, Delilah. Former corporate lawyer, now HOA president. Married to some guy who owns a bunch of urgent care clinics. They bought the biggest house for the view, which means my cows, my barn, my life. But what they really wanted was to make sure no unsightly agricultural odors ruined their wine tastings. Her daughter Brittany is getting married, $85,000 Pinterest wedding with a rustic farm theme. Because, of course, nothing says true love like pretending to be a farmer for Instagram clout. First shot fired. 3 months out. Delilah shows up on my side of the fence, clipboard and power suit, waving some ancient survey and insisting my fence is 3 feet on her property. Wants me to tear it down and rebuild 12 grand out of my pocket. The way she says, of course, like she's talking to a child who keeps eating glue, I about lost my mind. But I was bone-tired up to my neck in paperwork, and for once I gave in. Big mistake. You give a bully an inch, they'll take your whole damn farm. Fast forward 3 weeks to the wedding. Delilah swings by again, tells me not asks, tells that she's using my pasture for the ceremony, offers $500 right at peak harvest, peak calving. Ma'am, I said, that's not happening. Smile gone, mask off, and she goes, we'll see about that. I knew right then this wasn't about a wedding. This was war. 3 days later, she's back, folder in hand, big smile like we're best friends, wants to finalize details. I'm elbow deep in tomato vines, hands green, and she's waving a contract around, says, I've already agreed to rent her my land. Even fakes a deposit $500 written in her own handwriting. The contract's a joke. My property, her date, barn access. Even a clause about community use precedent. That last one, folks, that's lawyer talk for, if we do this once, we can do it forever. I tell her no. She laughs. We'll see how you feel after tonight's HOA meeting. Neighbor Earl calls me up, says, Jake, get your butt to the community center. She's cooking something up and it ain't peach cobbler. Walk in and there's Delilah giving a PowerPoint on agricultural nuisances, photos of my compost pile totally legal, labeled as unsanitary, field mice near my grain infestation. Wants to force me to install a $25,000 manure management system for public safety. I'm sitting there thinking this is how they take your land. Dad always said if someone wants your farm, you better know the law better than they do. So that night I dive into research, call the county clerk in the morning. Turns out Delilah's filed a property line dispute, even claimed adverse possession. You know what that is? That's when someone uses your land long enough they can try to steal it out from under you. But here's her mistake. She filed before ever actually using the land. Left a paper trail a mile wide. I called Gus, my dad's old lawyer. Guy's a legend, fought for farmers since before I was born. Gus says, son, you got right to farm laws. That land's protected. They can complain till the cows come home, you're covered. That was my ace. Delilah doubled down. Anonymous complaints to the health department, unsanitary conditions, groundwater contamination. I get a surprise inspection in the middle of calving season. This inspector nitpicks everything. Says I got 30 days to fix deficiencies. Cost me thousands. But guess what? Turns out his brother-in-law just bought a house in Willowbrook. Filing an ethics complaint is free and it puts heat where it belongs. Inspector gets suspended. Delilah gets madder. Round 2, social media smear campaign. Concerned Willowbrook residents start posting grainy photos. My compost pile is now toxic waste field mice, are disease carriers, my irrigation runoff is contaminated groundwater. Never mind, my farm's cleaner than half the city's water supply. Before I can blink, county gets 30 signatures demanding an intervention. Another inspector shows up, takes samples, looks for any reason to shut me down. He starts picking at loose gate latches, faded posters, stuff that means nothing. But I'm watching him too. Turns out he's got a lot under contract in Willowbrook. Bigger sale if my farm disappears. Another ethics complaint, another official sweating bullets. That's when it gets personal. Restaurants start getting anonymous calls saying my veggies are tainted, people are sick. Orders get canceled. My whole business on the line, time to go nuclear. I call every owner, explain what's up, offer free testing. Then call the health department, demand they investigate. Filing a false food complaint is a felony. They trace the calls to a burner phone from Walmart, one bought near Willowbrook. Surprise, surprise. Delilah's mask is off. Monday morning, she brings her daughter a lawyer and a wedding planner to my property. Tries to buy me off. Offers $25,000, then threatens legal action for breach of contract. I laugh so hard I nearly drop my wrench. You got nothing, I tell them. And you're about to have less. But here comes the twist. Gus, the old lawyer, starts digging. Finds out Delilah's husband owes $2.3 million to the same developer trying to buy up my land. If they don't pay, they lose everything. Delilah. She's got a consulting contract for $15,000 a year. Her job is to harass farmers, force them to sell, then collect her cut. She's done it twice already in other counties. Only thing stopping her now, my great-grandfather's agricultural easement written in 1891. Ironclad protection. They can't develop, can't rezone, can't even sneeze without my say-so. So what does Delilah do? Goes for broke. Tells me the wedding is happening Saturday with or without my permission. Try to stop us, she says, and you'll lose your farm. But that deed, that easement, turns out if I document them trespassing, it actually makes my case stronger. Every guest, every trampled plant is more evidence against them. And the penalty, $1,000 per head. That's $180,000 in fines, enough to pay off my mortgage and then some. Night before the wedding, I catch Delilah on my security cameras, sneaking around with bolt cutters, trying to break in and stage evidence for her case. Sheriff gets called, fingerprints on the bolt cutters, criminal trespassing report filed. The wheels are turning. Saturday morning, sun rising over the pasture. Here comes the wedding army contractor, trucks, decorations, workers all setting up on my tomatoes. Earl, my neighbor, cranks up the manure spreader, and within minutes the sweet, pungent aroma of 2,000 gallons of organic fertilizer is drifting over the wedding setup. Delilah goes ballistic. Guests gag, workers flee, decorations flop around in the breeze. Sheriff shows up, clipboard in hand. I hand him a stack of evidence, photos, videos, damage reports, all airtight. The first wedding guests roll up in BMWs, stepping out into a field that smells like justice and cow poop. Is this the wedding venue, they ask, eyes watering. No, sir, this is a working farm. You've been lied to. Then the grand finale. Delilah tries to take the mic, calm the crowd, spin more lies. But I step forward, Gus and the sheriff at my side, and read out the deed, the easement, the law. Every one of you is trespassing. Fines are $1,000 each. Phones disappear, faces go pale. Then Gus drops the bomb, reads out Delilah's consulting contract, her husband's loan, the whole scheme. Brittany, the bride, finally gets it, tears up. My mother lied to all of you, she says, and used my wedding as part of her scam. Guests scatter. Delilah is arrested, criminal trespassing, conspiracy, attempted fraud, you name it. My crops get paid for. Fence gets repaired. Delilah's HOA dissolves under the weight of legal bills. Her husband, free at last, becomes my family doctor and volunteers at the farm safety workshop. Brittany moves out, marries at the county fairgrounds, features my tomatoes at the reception, and we become friends. The real kicker. Our farmers market becomes a rallying point. Maria organizes solidarity sales. Earl becomes a local legend for his manure-spreading artistry. Yeppe, the restaurant owner, caters our first Right to Farm festival. My YouTube channel hits 50,000 subscribers, and other farmers start fighting back with documentation, with the law, with community. Here's the lesson, and I hope you're listening. Never underestimate the power of stubborn, honest folks with dirt under their nails and a deed in their hands. Bureaucrats, lawyers, even a mob of wedding guests, they can't break a community that stands together. You want to protect your land, know your rights, document everything, and don't let a bully in high heels make you forget who you are. And as for justice, let's just say it smells a lot like compost and fresh-cut hay. Now here's the million-dollar question. Where's the line between defending what's yours and becoming the bully yourself? At what point does fighting back become too much or not enough? You ever been on either side of a battle like this? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about justice, karma, and what happens when you stand up for what's right, even when the world's stacked against you. Hit subscribe for more tales of HOA hell, David versus Goliath, and proof the little guy sometimes wins. Next week, I'll tell you how I caught our city councilman robbing the fire department with his own security cameras. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.